Ladies and gentlemen, around this time of the year, 20 years back, or exactly 20 years back, the then National President Mukhinder Singh called me and told me that I would be creating, designing, and implementing a program for JCI India called the Academy of Business Leadership and Excellence. With that one small announcement, Mukhinder changed my whole life. I started getting into that program, and perhaps every one of us on the faculty, and I have shared my wonderful life with a lot of wonderful friends, some of whom are here in the panelists list today. Every one of us benefited in our own business because of that one program. If ever there is one program that I would recommend to any businessman anywhere in the world, it would be this program called the Academy of Business Leadership and Excellence. A mini MBA. In 4 days, people have changed their lives, their businesses, indefinitely, their future, because of whatever they've learned in those 4 days. Believe me, if there is one program that I would be really proud of, having done so many of them all my life, I would really be proud of what we've been able to achieve with this wonderful program called ABLE. Mukhinder, how can I ever thank you enough for having changed my life? So, ladies and gentlemen, we are right here. We are discussing what business is going to be after coronavirus. Your guess many times is going to be as good as mine. We are right now at the crossroads. The whole world has gone through one of the worst calamities in its entire history. Today, we are right there where we have reached almost the zenith of this disease called coronavirus. Many economies are going to fall, and when they fall, it is going to be extremely difficult for them to rise again. Notably, the economies of Italy, Spain, even the mighty United States are going to find the going very tough. What is it going to be for our own country? How are we going to cope with whatever is going to happen? Well, ladies and gentlemen, over the next 55 minutes, I intend to discuss this with you. Let's face it, even before coronavirus, it wasn't as if our economy was doing so well. From a dream 7 point something the year before, the most generous estimates gave us a GDP of 6.9%. Unfortunately, we couldn't even reach that. I think we closed somewhere around 4.8 or 4.9% GDP. And this, as it is, all of us were reeling. Many of us hadn't seen a smile on our face for a very long time because business wasn't doing as well as we wanted it to be. A lot of things were not going well. Let us see what really contributed to all this. First of all, let us understand, India spends between 17 to 21 lakh crore rupees every month domestically. Oh yes, we spend that much of money. And in March, every year, we record the highest spend. Why do we do that? Because it's in March that the year closes for all of us. And when it closes, every one of us is very, very keen on achieving whatever targets we've set for ourselves. Now, these targets are sometimes idealistic, sometimes practical. Definitely, the pressure is there to complete our targets. Unfortunately, this year, we couldn't do anything in the last 10 days of March. And therefore, a whole chain of events was set in motion, which we will find very difficult to recover in the days to come. All our predictions, and economists made so many of them, have gone with the wind. We talked about renaissance, we talked about the new economy, we talked about the whole world becoming richer. Well, everything went away with the winds of March. True enough that Shakespeare said the Ides of March bode no good for anybody. But was it as bad as we thought it was? Let us have a look. The coronavirus really gripped the whole world. And it gripped it so much that each one of us found it very difficult to even go out of our houses. As a pandemic, ladies and gentlemen, if it is any consolation to you, it hasn't been as bad as it was a few years back. In the beginning of 1918, the entire world suffered a virus called the flu. Actually, it was called influenza. And between 20 to 50 million people lost their lives then. There was no cure for flu at that point of time. And the cure for flu developed after some time. Today, when our children get the flu, it's just a matter of 2 or 3 days that we need to concern ourselves because there's some medicines already available. What made coronavirus very difficult for us to digest was the fact that there was no known cure. There still isn't. There are a lot of theories. There are a lot of people saying we can do this, we can do that. But clinically, across the world, ladies and gentlemen, there is no cure. Now let me set a few things right at the risk of repeating things that you already know. Let me tell you that wearing a mask in public is a good idea. Whether WHO wants it or doesn't want it, it's immaterial. Wearing some kind of a mask in public is a very good idea. Staying away from people is another good idea. And India has been doing that very well so far. Any known virus so far in the world hasn't gone beyond 6 months. It hasn't lasted anywhere in the world, historically speaking, beyond 6 months. Which means if we have to take the worst that can happen, the whole world will rise up somewhere around the end of May or the beginning of June, heaving a sigh of relief that coronavirus is finally away. Today, what needs to be stressed is that we don't allow children and the older people to be affected. Many of us can very easily combat the pandemic without any problems at all. That doesn't mean we need to be foolish. That doesn't mean we need to take undue risks. At this point of time, as I talk to you, I'm not very sure whether this is going to be extended for another 15 days. The Prime Minister, in his meeting with the chief ministers of the country a few years back, was inclined to agree with most of them, but he still hasn't taken a final call on what needs to be done. Never mind what the hundreds of WhatsApp messages that you've already received. An official word has not yet been taken on what exactly or how long will the lockdown take place. India's direct loss from coronavirus is estimated 8 lakh crores. Let's understand what the implication of this 8 lakh crores is all about. The gross GST collections per month in India are just 1 lakh crores, which means in less than a month, we have lost the earnings of 8 long months of GST. Huge loss, very big loss. And it's going to take us a lot of time to recover from this loss. But recover we should and we need to. It all actually started, as far as the economy is concerned, with the automobile glut. Many of us will recall, at least automobile lovers like me, will recall that the Prime Minister and the Home Minister came up with an announcement saying that by 2030, there will be no fossil fueled cars in India, which means by 2030, all vehicles would become electric. This set off a lot of uncertainty in the automobile market. People started waiting for another year or two, waiting for vehicles to come in. The second big bombshell came when the government said that as per a previously announced schedule, BS4 would be replaced by BS6, Bharat Stage 4 by Bharat Stage 6. For many of us, this distinction is not very clear. But for the automobile manufacturers, it meant revamping their entire technology because this fuel, BS6, was less polluted. It was cleaner, and they had to revamp, change their entire engines to make them compatible with the new fuel. And in anticipation of BS6 cars, people stopped buying BS4 cars. Automobile industry went into crisis mode. Cars started selling at all kinds of discounts. And before you knew it, cars stopped selling. This really was the beginning of the dream, actually the end of the dream run that we all went through the past few years, the automobile factory. This is one of the largest industries in our country and affects the working of almost 38% of the population of India, directly or indirectly. And with the fall of the automobile industry, the economy was already going into a tailspin. The well-meant decisions of the government, unfortunately, were not implemented properly. The GST became a nightmare for every small and medium business owner. The complicated clauses, the knowledge or the lack of knowledge of the officers implementing those clauses became a huge millstone around our necks. And even today, almost 2 years after it was implemented, the GST Act continues to evolve. And we still haven't found that perfection that we all craved for in the very first month. Even today, a lot of businesses are uncertain about what exactly they need to do under the GST provisions. The second big blow came when the Prime Minister announced demonetization. Again, this was the need of the moment. This was what the country desperately needed. But in the process, in the implementation of demonetization, a lot of things went awry. I am no economist, nor am I a politician. So I don't even know how the prediction of the government went awry when they were expecting only 65% of all the money to come back into the banks. More than 98%, or was it almost 100% that came back into the bank. Don't ask me how this happened, but it happened. And that entire exercise of demonetization, which cost us quite a lot of money, did not really serve its purpose. Combined with that, the already difficult economy that we were going through, government officials continued to either be bad cops or good cops. They continued to view business as if we were all committing a huge crime. They continued to look at profits as if we were robbing people to earn that. The most hit were the people at the bottom of the food chain, the small, the micro, the mini entrepreneurs of this country, who are actually the lifeline of this country. I stopped looking at BSE and Nifty a long time back because I discovered that they were not a true reflection of where this economy is going. If you all are students of economics, you will know that it is only how a few selected companies are doing which determine what is the BSE index and the Nifty index. What the economy is really doing is something that you and I know. When we look at the businessman and the owner of a business, and we look at the kind of people that are there in his staff, when we look at the kind of business he does, we know, and we have known that the economy was not doing well even before the coronavirus. The moment it was announced, a logistical nightmare unfolded in this country. I was speaking to two people. Sundar Raj is the managing director of the Shubham Group of companies, one of the largest truck owners in the country, based at Trichy. Sushma Ravi Shankar is the joint managing director of Bindia Cargo. This is a company which has a national presence, and it caters to a large number of companies who require container movement. Both of them, in separate conversations, had almost drawn the same conclusions. Let me tell you what they were. An estimated 350,000 trucks from the organized sector are stuck somewhere on the highways of this country, or in some truck yard, or in some small street, abandoned by the drivers, many of them with truckloads of products in them. An estimated 35,000 crores, 35,000 crores worth of products lay abandoned on the road for almost a month. I asked Sushma what is going to happen, and she said, it is going to be very tough, because at this point of time, at least we have found out where the trucks are. We can't send anybody to pick them up. We don't know what has happened to the products inside those trucks. We don't even know where the drivers are because their phones are switched off. Sundar added, he said, even if the country lifts its lockdown in the next, let's say 1 week, let's be optimistic, even if the country lifts its lockdown, we don't know, A, where the drivers are, B, we don't even know whether the trucks are going to be in a drivable condition, because miscreants may have stolen spares from the trucks. Now, replacing those spares, fine, we could still do it. How will we find the transport to bring those spares to where the trucks are? And he said, even if everything is fine and we start working, how will we get the drivers back? Aren't they human beings? Don't they have concern for their own families? And they will be traveling through the length and breadth of the country in areas which are affected still by COVID. How can we make them do that? A very, very big question, ladies and gentlemen, because what Sundar and Sushma told me is only about the organized sector. At least 150,000 more unorganized sector trucks face a similar problem. It's no secret that this country's logistics depend to a large extent on truck movement. As it is, they were in problems because despite the fact that GST had come in, they did face a lot of local issues, local problems, local people wanting their share of whatever kind of revenue you could ask it. But then they were there. It was a fact of life. And now, with this added on, it's going to take at least 3 months more. This is what both Sushma and Sundaraj tell me. It is going to take at least 3 months more for truck movement to become absolutely what it used to be in the beginning of March. A very, very, very difficult task, ladies and gentlemen. What is of very, very big importance to all of us is that India has really risen to face this crisis. How have we done that? The net is replete with stories of people cooking at home, feeding people who can't do that. Many PG owners have not demanded rent from their tenants and are feeding them too. Many hospital volunteers go every day, leave food packets behind. Government has locked behind. The state governments and the central governments have not spared any effort whatsoever to ensure that India does not go hungry. A great service has been done by those people who are still transporting essential commodities across the length and breadth of India. Yes, and even great service has been done by all those doctors and health officials across this country who continue to treat people. Never in the history of this country, except at the times of war, have we stood as united as we have done today. We have forgotten our politics. We have forgotten our differences. All that matters is how we as human beings can help one another. And this is where I would like to salute every Indian for being the great person that he is. The future, ladies and gentlemen, is coming for you. It is a very, very bright future. It's something that you might not even dream of at the moment. Let me give you a small glimpse of what is going to happen even as early as 2022, end of 2023. Let us go into an imaginative mode. Let us say that you and your family decide that you want to go to a nearby mall. I stay very near the Forum Mall in Bangalore, and I'll cite you an example from this mall itself. Now let's say my wife, my daughter and I decide that we were going to go to Forum Mall. And when we park our car at the car park, okay, there is going to be a camera that is going to scan all three of us. And the moment the scanning is completed, there is going to be a flash on all the three mobiles, all the mobiles saying, "Welcome Ramesh, welcome Maina, and welcome Diva to Forum. We're very happy to have you here." Now, as we go into the entrance of Forum, there is going to be another flash on the mobile, which says, "Transit has fantastic discounts available to you today." And Transit is the food court of Forum, and all those discounts and all those special meals will be available on our mobiles. So we're told that this food will be ready in 20 minutes, another one will be ready in 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and we order. We go in. I made a big mistake. You know what the mistake was? I said, we go and park our cars. We are not going to actually go and park our cars. we are only going to symbolically go and park our cars. How do we do that? We switch on the TV and there's a parking lot of Forum and we park our car symbolically there. We're right there in our living room. We haven't even left it. So to go back to my story of imagination, the moment you enter Forum, on the left, there is a west side. So let's say we go into west side and I like a shirt. The moment I look towards that shirt, a very pretty young lady who's not a human, who's a humanoid, is going to pop up into my screen and say, hey, Ramesh, do you really like this shirt? And I'm going to click on my TV screen. The moment I click on the TV screen, there is going to be another model, a model who looks like me, who wears the same kind of shirt like me, who has my same skin color. And this model is going to display that shirt on him. And this lady is going to say, Ramesh, do you like the shirt? Do you want me to show you a different color? And I say, I like the design. May I see a different color? And sure enough, the same model is wearing a different color. Now in about 4 or 5 different tries, I've already chosen my shirt and I just click on my choice. I move on. I enter a bookshop. The moment I enter the bookshop, there's going to be a list of all my favorite authors. And there's going to be an announcement from the bookshop saying, hey, Ramesh, we've got your favorite author today. His book has just been released yesterday. Do you want me to reserve the book for you? And if I say yes, all I have to do is simply go to the next click and my book has been reserved for me. Now, I have gone to another place. I've gone to a jeans place. I've gone to a watches place, okay? And I like go there, and remember, I'm going there only virtually. I'm still there in my living room. I hear the noise of the bell. And my daughter goes and brings the food that we ordered when we wanted to go to the mall. So let's say from Transit, each one of us ordered for a masala dosa. And all those 3 masala dosas have been delivered piping hot to us in our living room. And we have the opportunity of eating those masala dosas right there. So having eaten, we complete our visit to Forum, sitting there in our living room. Flight of fancy? You think I'm trying to imitate H.G. Wells? No, ladies and gentlemen, it is happening already. Parts of it is already happening. And now combined with the fact that many of us may not want to travel to very public places, very soon, this is going to be reality, where you will virtually shop for anything and everything, including the food that you want to eat in the mall. Exciting future, very, very exciting future. And we are very lucky to be part of it. Now, do you know something? Yeah, do you know something, ladies and gentlemen? The number of changes that we've seen in our lives, the past 7 generations have not seen so many changes. Aren't we lucky? We definitely are. We're very fortunate. Let me give you the good news and the bad news. The good news, ladies and gentlemen, is that the World Health Organization, in its infinite wisdom, has come to a conclusion that each one of us is going to be alive till the age of 82. Yes, mortality rates have steadily gone up, and now we stand at the figure of 82. In 1955 or 1960, it was 47. Yeah, it's 82 now. So the good news is that all of us are going to be around for a very long time. The second bit of good news is that the WHO has determined that the 60s is the new 40s. Yes, The 60s is the new 40s. What does that mean? That at the age of 60, you have the energy of a 40-year-old. You have the health cycle of a 40-year-old, which means all those theories which said a person should retire at the age of 60, no longer valid. You can work for another 20 years and still enjoy everything that you want to. So, what's the bad news? The bad news is that all my business friends who are here in the audience today, all of you, please know that 7 out of 10 traditional businesses will die by the end of 2023. 7 out of 10. Yes, 7 out of 10 will die in the next 3 years unless you take immediate action to change with the times. You have to completely revamp yourself to look at a new breed of customers and a new profile of customer. You have to revamp yourself to face the challenges of the kind of competition you may have never faced before. And you have to change yourself in your entire thinking about loyal customers. Big challenge. And if you're not up to the challenge in 3 years, I'm afraid you have no business left. I know what your choice is. I want to live. Yeah, I want to be having a wonderful business. I want to have a great business. I want to really live. Well, if you want to live, if you want to have a great business, let's see what we can do to change ourselves in keeping with the times. First of all, let's take a very hard look at our own businesses. Very hard look. Have many of your staff members left you over the past 2 years as compared to the many years before that? Some reason or the other, have many of your staff members left you? If yes, well, something is wrong. Do you have generally unhappy customers when they leave your place? Are they unhappy with maybe your staff, maybe you, maybe with your surroundings? Do you see a frown on the face of your customers? Watch CCTV cameras, ladies and gentlemen, and find out, are your customers generally happy or unhappy? Even if they've bought something, it doesn't matter. Are they happy? If they are not happy, take a hard look. Something somewhere is wrong. Do you have major collection issues where many of your peers don't seem to have so much of a problem? Are you one of those very few ones who has a problem with collection in your particular sector of industry? Ever ask yourself why? Is there something somewhere that is putting off people from paying you? Another difficult question. What is happening to many of your old customers? Don't see them? What happened to all of them? Wondering about it? These 4 questions, ladies and gentlemen, determine the state of your business. If the answers to all these 4 questions are not satisfactory, you need to completely reinvent, as I said a few days back, completely reinvent your business to bring it in line with the needs of today. We have a long road ahead, a very, very long road ahead. My estimation is that till 2022 March, we will still be firefighting. We will still not be able to look at the kind of growth that we really want. A lot of people will make a lot of guesses about what the economy will be. But my guess is that we are not going to grow beyond 5%. I'd be happy if we did that. But in order to do that, we have a very long road ahead. And many of us are not going to be very happy because it is not going to be a happy road ahead. All is not lost, in the words of this eternal positive thinker. Read it, ladies and gentlemen. Read what is written. Somewhere there is light at the end of the tunnel. Somewhere things are going to work out. And they are going to work out sooner than you think they will. How do we then prepare ourselves for the future? Okay, I know some difficult decisions will be taken in the next 2-3 months. You may be forced to get rid of some stuff. If you have to, please do it as humanly as possible. Make sure they understand your situation. Take them into your confidence and tell them, if at all you can, you'll bring them back as soon as possible. And if you can, please recommend those people whom you have to let go to some of your friends. Maybe they'll be able to take care of them. I know some of you will be forced to reduce salaries. Do so, if you have to, by telling people what is the need and how every one of us has to do this together. If at all it is possible, and I know it is a very big if, but if at all it is possible, please dig deep into your pockets and make sure that the small people in your organization, the people who are entirely dependent on the salary that you give them, they are adequately taken care of, at least their survival needs. This is what we owe, not as employers, but as one human being to another. I'm very happy to inform you is what the slide says. Then after a very long engagement, oh yes, business and technology are now married for the rest of their lives. You can't survive without technology. Yeah, from the humble tally to the Zoom, everything is changed in our lives. And the future is only to those people who look at the good news. And what is the good news for all of us? Every one of us is permitted to marry again. Yeah. I hope the women in this audience are not going to kill me, but every one of us is now permitted to marry again to technology. Yes, and we don't have a choice. We need to completely change our lifestyle, our business, to encompass this new entrant in our life. We need to make technology our friend, our ally, our supporter, and the biggest salesman we have. Elsewhere in this series, my esteemed friends have told you how it is not so difficult to take care of technology, how it is not so difficult to master some of the wonderful apps already available, how it is ridiculously easy to take care of just your mobile phone and do a lot of things. Let's take a small example. Many of you today don't even need to go to your office every day, right? Yeah. Why? Because all you do is glance into your mobile phone, and on your CCTV, which is linked to your mobile, you know exactly what is happening to your business. 10 years back, 20 years back, what is CC camera? Okay. Now this is where you need to take advantage of technology. My friend Dilip Jain and a number of other masters in this are always available for advice. Be sure you pay them. Nothing in life, everything in life can't be free. But do make sure that you learn what goes for your business and start using it. Why? Because in the sometime of tomorrow, if you have a good website and it is linked to a good server, your business is running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. No more holidays. No more overtime. No, nothing. All you have is you and your customer. It is possible, and you know it is possible. Many of you have already done this. Well, all you need to do, the ones who have not done it so far, is to once again take that big step and become friends, rather marry technology. And once again, your life can become as prosperous as it used to be. We all need to enhance the customer service experience because the customer of today has changed beyond imagination. Today's customer is not the king, he is the emperor. And we are no longer in a position to make any demands on him. We can only request. We are not in a position to dictate to him. No, we can only beg. We are not in a position to even decide on his behalf. No, we can't do that, however old or however loyal he might be, because he is today the emperor. Let us understand that in the conceivable future, as long as you and I are alive, this is not going to change. If you are in business, understand that you are no longer the king, however big you might think you are. Today, the customer is the king. And he, with just the flick of his credit card, can make you come down on the streets. Now, if you know this, you need to change your entire attitude towards the customer. And how exactly can we do this post-coronavirus? We have, if not anything, we have the next 4 days. But you and I know there is not just going to be 4 days. Even if there's a miracle and if India lifts the lockdown, you and I know that it will take a long time for India to become what it was. Now, there is a small interval available to you to reinvent yourself, to revamp yourself, to regenerate yourself. And how do you do this? First of all, let's look at your staff. And I'll quickly run through this. There are 5 ways in which you can effectively train your staff. The first, set goals. What goals are these? Set goals about how you want your staff to interact with your customers. And they must be specific goals. Yeah, exactly what is the behavior that your staff must display to your customers. Communicate these goals. Communicate these goals to everyone in your staff. Even the office boy must know what are the goals vis-a-vis the customer experience. When you're communicating, understand that not everybody can understand you. There could be language barriers, there could be knowledge barriers, there could be mindset barriers, there could be attitude barriers. Cross all these barriers and let every one of your staff members know what is expected of them vis-a-vis the new business that you're going to start after coronavirus, the new methodology of treating your customer. Once you have set this, be consistent. There can't be a situation where you do one thing today and another thing tomorrow. Supposing you tell a very small example, supposing you are to tell your office boy, as soon as a customer comes in, offer him coffee. So you offer him coffee today, you offer him tomorrow, you offer him day after, and on Monday you say, oh, to hell with it, yeah, we'll not do it. That's what happens to all of us. Be consistent with whatever you do. Okay. And finally, set measuring standards, because every one of those behaviors that is exhibited by your staff members has a scale to go up to, and each one should be measured. If you're changing, your staff must change too. If they don't change, well, there is no change at all, because you can't be there all the time to take care of your customers. Your staff needs to, and they can only behave the way you ask them to behave. They're not God Almighty. They cannot understand what is in your mind unless you communicate. So, first of all, train your staff. Remodel your systems. Great opportunity for all of us. I'm not saying buy yourself another laptop. I would like to talk about one very, very popular hypermarket that's been floated by an entrepreneur just like you and me, who made it very big. This is a hypermarket that makes it very easy for a customer to shop. The crowded hypermarket has a lot of material available to the customer, and it is not uncommon for a customer to have 2 trolleys, 3 trolleys, some even 4 trolleys ready to be taken for making bills. And many of us have stood frustrated in the long line that happens in front of the cash counter. There are not enough people. The procedure is not all right. Too many items per person. I don't really know. All I know is that the wonderful experience that you had shopping is all spoiled just because you're not able to pay your bill. Go to a popular restaurant. They'll give you a fantastic meal. Everyone will come, from the owner down to the waiter, to ask you if food was all right. They will make corrections in the food. Everything is fine, and you finish your meal. You ask for the bill, and it takes 20 minutes to generate a bill. The entire evening is gone. And I'm talking about just one part of your process. Where are the bottlenecks? Look at the bottlenecks and unleash those bottlenecks. Make them wide enough so that those impediments to new business are no longer there when you start 15 days from now. My friends, you will need to prepare yourself for a longer return on your investment. Why? Credit cycles are going to become a little longer than they used to be. Not that anybody wants to do it, but you will understand that the economy did not do anything at all. The 17 lakh crores that we should have spent in March, we did not spend probably even 10% of it. So the money is all locked up in stocks everywhere. And unless the stocks sell, and unless the money starts rotating again, we are all going to be in problems. So be prepared for a little longer than necessary to realize your credit. But this does not mean that you should simply lie down and take it. You should redouble your efforts as politely as possible to recover as much money as you can, as soon as you can. Because ultimately, even in the best of economies, cash is king. And in the next 3 or 4 months, if you have enough cash with you, you will be amazed at the kind of discounts that are being offered. You'll be amazed at the kind of bargains that are going to be available. But I must warn you that that is only going to be a short-term thing. 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months down the line, it'll be business as usual. And your cash will come back to the position it used to be December, January this year. But yes, in the next 3, 4 months, if you got lots of money, well, this is the time to buy it. Buy things that will make money, not all those luxuries. You can always buy the luxuries later. Today is the time to see where you can make a fast buck. And this is something I would like you to do. Every one of you in the audience today, why don't you spend the next 1 week? Call up all your customers and your vendors. Yeah, vendors also. Call up all of them. Just say hello. Just talk about all kinds of things, but don't talk about business. Don't talk about business. Just call and let go. Leave it at that. Once business starts, okay, the remembrance of these calls is going to bring you the kind of business that you didn't imagine. Because in this kind of a period, it is that warm hand of camaraderie which everyone is looking forward to. And if you can manage not to talk about business, talk about families, talk about the situation, talk about the future, well, that is the thing that you must talk about. And this is what is going to give you lots and lots of more business. The entire idea of networking mushroomed in our country about 7, 8 years back, with an organization which was about 30 years old already, suddenly decided to become aggressive. And that organization made inroads into the business economy that we know of. Many of my friends joined the organization, a highly respected organization. And each one of them made use of something that this organization teaches systematically, scientifically, the value of networking, the value of contra promotions. Hey, what's all this about? Let's take an example. Let's say you are running a plywood shop and somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'm looking for a large quantity of plywood sheets. He gives you specifications and he says, can you supply? And ordinarily you would say, yes, of course I can. What kind of a timeline do I have? Now, if you're somebody who is actively practicing contra promotions, you will ask a question. You'll ask, sir, so much of plywood? Are you constructing a house? And there will be a pleased answer saying, your guess is right. Yes, I'm constructing a house. What if you were to be able to give this customer a list of your friends, people whom you know, people whose credentials you can guarantee, whose integrity is something that can be taken for granted, a list of customers, and tell him, sir, for your house, this is a list of all my friends. Each one of you is going to treat you like a special guest. You just have to mention my name. And every one of you will make sure that your requirements are taken care of. Now, from a situation where a customer is going to be bewildered, wondering where his next bag of cement is going to come from, you've all of a sudden, across the table, given him a solution to all his problems. Wonderful. I, as a customer, would love it. Now, this is what contra promotions is all about. This is what networking, as it is today known, all about. JCI India has something operating very exciting that is happening in the form of the JCI Entrepreneur Network. This is almost ready to be launched. And tomorrow in the afternoon at 4 o'clock, there's going to be an orientation. Watch your WhatsApp. There's going to be an invitation for you tonight or tomorrow morning. No businessman should miss that session. No, you shouldn't miss it if you really want your business to prosper. Ladies and gentlemen, back to contra promotions. We've been doing this unconsciously, haven't we? My brother-in-law's shop, my sister-in-law's beauty salon. We've been doing this. But now we do it consciously. We do it scientifically. We do it systematically. And we do it in a climate that encourages networking. More about this tomorrow. What do our customers really want from us? What do our customers really want? Let's look at what we can do for the customer. First of all, the customer is looking at reduced interaction post-coronavirus. How can our businesses become less or contact-free? How can our businesses become such that everything need not be explained? How can our businesses, especially the retail ones, manage without salespeople? Challenge, especially where garments are concerned, but a challenge which I'm sure will have solutions. But today, yes, the customer is not looking at socializing when he is shopping. He is not looking at socializing when he is buying. Change attitudes. We have to rise to the occasion. Stop selling, start solving. Every customer is not interested in any product. Every customer is looking at a solution of a problem that he's got. So change yourself from the selling mode to the solving mode. I have two very close friends of mine in the JC movement in Bangalore, both of them Garden City members. One is Chetan, another is Prajwal. Both of them have something to do with construction and surgicals and industry and so on. Some of the WhatsApp messages that they send me really make me wonder where they got the creativity from. They talk about the product right at the end. They talk about how they can help make life easy for me right in the beginning. And believe me, these geniuses must be having a lot of business multiplication just because they have got themselves into the problem solving mode instead of the product selling mode. I must tell you about this gentleman. His name is Sumit. His shop is very near, maybe about 50 meters from my house. I don't know who he is. He probably doesn't know who I am. The lockdown was announced, and 2 days later, we discovered that we had practically nothing. We had nothing at home because we had not prepared ourselves. I didn't know this man's number. So I went to just dial and got the number of the shop. And I dialed. He didn't take my call. He was not surprised. He didn't take my call. The shops were all closed, and he didn't know me from Adam. To my very pleasant surprise, Sumit called me up 1 hour later and he said, "Sir, I'm sorry. I didn't know your number. But when I looked at Truecaller and I downloaded you onto WhatsApp, I saw your DP and now I know who you are. Tell me, sir, how can I help you?" I said, "I have these issues." He said, "Sir, I don't know you at all, but I remember you as somebody who's very polite. I remember that in this 20 years, you have never failed to thank me and my staff. And tell me, what is it I can do for you?" I gave him a long list. And he said, "Whatever I have out of this list, my shop is closed, but I will make sure that somewhere, somehow it reaches you." 2 hours later, he called back. He said, "Sir, about 80% of whatever you asked for is ready. Unfortunately, I have nobody who can deliver this to you. Can you please pick it up?" I said, "That shouldn't be a problem because you're just very near my house. I will do so myself." And he said, "Sir, you don't even need to pay me cash." I said, "What?" He said, "It's okay. You can, if you can, please pay me on Google Pay or Paytm. But if you cannot, it doesn't matter. Once the shop opens, I will take it from you." It didn't stop there. Every day in the morning, Sumit calls up and says, "Sir, anything that I can do for you today?" And he's been doing this for the past 8 days. If this is not pampering your customer, what is, ladies and gentlemen? He doesn't know me. He doesn't know my name. And yet he goes out of his way to help me when he knows I need help. It's the Sumits of India, the small Kirana shop owners who make sure that you and I don't go hungry. May they always be blessed. And may they always be part of our hearts forever. But to go on, we need to personalize our business. What does this mean? I don't know how many of you remember Kingfisher had was one of the most glamorous budget airlines ever. No wonder it folded up. But there were a lot of innovations that Kingfisher went through. They had a, excuse me, they had a scheme or a plan, some membership, I don't know what it is now called, Kingfisher Red or something like that. And on the whim of the moment, I just applied. Now, a few days later, at around 6:30 in the evening, a red Mercedes-Benz, an absolutely scarlet red Mercedes-Benz that stops in front of my house, out of which steps a man completely dressed in a red suit with a red tie. He's carrying a red box. And he comes to me and says, "Mr. Batavia," and I say, "Yes." He says, "It's a great pleasure to have you as part of our exclusive club. And I would like to present to you a small gift from us. It's a beautiful velvet lined red box. Inside the box, I open, there's a red card that carries my name. And it says, use this for faster check-ins and a lot of other facilities that he gave. And the most important thing was a luggage tag that had my name. Personalization. Today, I, as a customer, want it. Because there's no one key that fits all locks. And a customer, each customer is a different lock. Ladies and gentlemen, as I come to the end of my presentation, I would like to say that slowly, gradually, we will recover, we will survive, we will rebuild. What is going to stand? What is going to be in the history books of the next generation is the wonderful way in which India stood up to this crisis. Each one of them, each one of our readers is going to look at us and say what kind of superhuman beings existed at that point of time. When people with such disparate backgrounds, with such disparate religious beliefs got together as one nation and fought not another nation, fought a disease. I want to tell you this, that the coronavirus is nothing for India. I know, and I know that you know, that India will rise. I know that by 2021, 22, definitely by 23, we will become one of the richest nations in the world. We will become one of the most credible nations in the world. Why? Because people are going to appreciate our honesty, our legal system, our ethics, our sense of values, which our neighbor does not have. A lot of people are going to come to us because we are technologically advanced. A lot of Indians living outside this world, outside this country, are going to come back because they will find India a much better place to live in. Ladies and gentlemen, you and I have this responsibility of making India great, making India the country that our children and their children and their children will be very proud of. Jai Hind.